Hey everyone, welcome back to a new week and a new fun activity for you to try. This week we're working on nature prints, regulating pressure and creating. So this activity allows us to go outside and explore. Some of the materials you will need for this activity are natural objects like flowers, leaves, rocks, sticks, pine cones, anything you can find. Large pieces of paper, 4 small rocks or other heavy objects to keep your paper down on the floor from the wind is optional. Washable paint, paper plates or cardboard, newspaper, tissue paper, or a sponge, any old toys as well. That's optional too. So, to get started, simply all you have to do is go outside in your backyard, in your front yard, anywhere outside that you can get to. And you're going to have your child help you find leaves, flowers, or anything else that catches his or her eye. Talk about and choose different items that have different sizes, shapes, textures to make things a little bit unique when it comes down to making prints. This is the fun part. And when you're picking up these items, talk about the different textures and feelings of objects. And sizes, what's smaller, what's bigger. Oh, this one might be round, this one might be spiky, this one curvy. There's so many ways to label different characteristics of objects when you guys are talking about them. And this is a great way to extend that language. I did want to go ahead and put a disclaimer for safety. When you're out there collecting nature objects, just be careful. There are flowers and plants that could be poisonous, so just be aware of things like poison ivy and anything that looks not right. I wouldn't pick that up or allow your child to touch that. Just make sure you're monitoring and supervising this activity throughout the whole thing. Also, some sticks and pine cones might be a little pokey and spiky, so just be careful for that. We don't want anyone to get hurt. So once you've gathered all your nature items and have it in one little area, what you're going to do is place a piece of paper on a hard surface. So you can do it outside on your patio or on the concrete, on your front porch. You can even take it inside if you want to as well, on a table. And if needed, you can go ahead and weight down the paper on all 4 corners with rocks. I was able not to, just because the wind wasn't too bad, but if you need to, you can go ahead and do that for a little bit more of stability to weight the paper down for your child. You can then go ahead and pour the paint onto 4 separate corners of either cardboard or a paper plate that you might have to kind of separate the different colors of paint for your child. Once that is done, you can help your child dip each collected item into the paint and press it onto the paper. Point out the colorful print that is left behind when she lifts up the object. And then you can even talk about and show her the print changes depending on how hard or softly she presses on the object. So then this is going back to regulating that pressure and what the result looks like after your child does that. So if you take a pine cone or a rock and you press down a little bit harder, the print might show up a little bit more. If you press lighter, it might be a lighter texture print. So you can talk about the different ways and the results of different pressure on printing. Continue printing until he or she uses all the items he or she collected and is happy with the design. So allow your child to really have time to explore with all the different items collected and all the different colors and looking at different ways the printing can be done. For instance, at the end here, I took one of my sticks and I rolled it and pressed it to make a different type of print. So you can even get creative when doing printing with the same object and the motions. So this activity is amazing for social and emotional development. So not only are you outside, you're getting that fresh air, you're working with these natural objects, they have calming colors and aesthetics. It kind of helps regulate that emotion and feeling. It kind of brings you just that calm feeling. So that's what your child is ultimately going to be feeling when using these natural type items. Children at this age are learning to regulate their bodies, speed, and pressure. So this activity helps them see the difference that controlling their actions has on the end result. So that, again, going back to those pressure printings. Working with delicate leaves and plants teaches children to be mindful, and they sometimes have to use gentler actions or motions with these items. Creating nature prints builds children's self-esteem. They take pride in their art when they're done. So praise your child when they're done with this activity and say, oh my goodness, look at all those different prints you made. They're amazing. That little praise goes a long way. And then other areas like cognitive, it's great for handling leaves and seeing their imprint. Helps children identify and understand the details that make each item unique. The same goes for people. So talking about the differences in the objects and items. Language, when parents share the names of the plants they recognize, children learn to identify them both by their characteristics and names. So for instance, if you pick up a flower, it might not just be called a flower, but its specific name is a rose. So extending that language. Motor. Finger movements become more refined as children pick up delicate flowers, dip them in paint, and place them on paper. So they're having to control those smaller muscle movements a little bit harder. So towards the end of this activity, after I did all my printing, I even took the activity a little bit further. If your child is interested and you want to try this with them, I actually folded my paper in half, hamburger style, and when I opened it back up, it allowed me to see the prints and how symmetrical they were then on both sides of the paper. So when the paint was still wet, I folded it, opened it, and then you can see the symmetrical prints and patterns on the paper, which is pretty cool. And then you can kind of talk about that as well with your child. So just some different elements you can add to this activity. So to wrap things up this week, I want you guys to enjoy your time and get outside with each other and have a great week. Enjoy some of the nice weather coming up, and I look forward to making another video next week. Bye guys!